of what Ernest Holmes was teaching when he put forth this idea of the science of mind. Now, in this version, the 50th anniversary, the foreword was written by Dr. Hornaday. And I know some of you have been students of Dr. Hornaday. I just found that out this week. I think that's incredible. And I wanted to give you just a little bit about what William Hornaday said in the foreword to the 50th anniversary. During a period of my life when I was searching desperately for answers, I had an appointment to see Dr. Ernest Holmes in his office in Los Angeles. I had never met him personally, but attended his lectures, and his international reputation as a philosopher and spiritual teacher was well known to me. As the time for our appointment neared, I began feeling slightly apprehensive about meeting a person of such eminence. When the secretary opened the door, I saw a smiling man coming toward me. He was small in stature and casually dressed in sports clothes. He shook my hand and he said, "You must be Bill. I'm Ernest. Have a seat." From that point on, Dr. Hornaday began to take the study and the teachings that Ernest was offering. And Dr. Hornaday has become an icon within our movement in and of itself, as have many others. But the key to what we're all doing is bringing forth the essence of what Ernest Holmes was trying to pull out of the information that he had available to him at the time. Ernest Holmes says that science of mind is a correlation of what we are discovering in science, what we are pulling out of philosophy, and what we are gathering from religion. And we put this all together and we try to lay it out and see what comes out and what shows up and what really looks like truth. And in order to do that, sometimes we have to take away some of the trappings and some of the addendums that have been put on and some of the rituals that have shown up, in order to get a clear understanding of what's being presented here. What is this idea of one? When we say the divine presence, what do we mean by that? I would suggest that if I were to sit with each and every one of you and ask you to explain to me the divine presence, that I would probably have as many different interpretations as there are people in this room. I know that's true when I ask people to define God. Some people run out the door. Some people get really anxious. Some people get very nervous about trying to figure that out. And so oftentimes I will have there are people that will come to me and say, I really, really, really liked your message, but when you said God, I couldn't go there. And it's like, why would you allow a word, a term, to get in the way of your spirituality? Why not recreate it in your own mind so that it becomes something that you can work with, work around, be okay with, and move on to a greater understanding? Someone had mentioned this to Ernest Holmes once. They said, love what you say, but you use the word God too often. Ernest said, well, good. I'll change it. I'll call it potato. Every time I want to talk about the spiritual, the eternal, the infinite, the divine presence, or God, I'll just call it potato. And they said, no, that's okay. I can live with God. It's just a word. Don't get caught up in it. And the passage that we are reading today, it says that the divine presence, just by its very presence, heals. The divine presence. What does that mean for you? Make it something more. Make it something greater. Make it something magnificent, because it is you. The divine presence is you in expression, individualized in the personality of you. And the more you can understand that, the more you can come back into the awareness, into the recognition that the divine presence is already here. Anything that you want to have healed, transformed, or brought into a greater experience comes from within. You have the answer. You have the truth. You have the wisdom. Getting there, understanding it, being clear about it, is the work that has to take place. And I know nobody wants to do the work. You know, can't you just give me the super pill, or, you know, wave your magic wand, or do that thing that you do called treatment and make it all better? If I could do that, absolutely, I would be doing that all the time for everyone, everywhere. I'd make your life absolutely perfect. But it would be my interpretation of what perfect is. See? Okay, now the resistance comes up. Well, but I didn't want that. Okay. So I don't. I do not... Well, sometimes I slip. I do not try to control your life. I do not try to tell you what to do. There are moments. But generally, I offer them as suggestions. I try to bring you into that awareness, into that consciousness that you are the one. One of the ways that I do that is that when I see you, when I interact with you, when I talk to you, I try to see that perfection of you, not the perfection of me, the perfection of you. You are mirroring your life. There was a great little cartoon that I saw on the internet yesterday. Somebody probably sent it to me, and it was like the mirror of life, and it was like this tiny little puppy dog. You know, it's like, you know, the puppy dog imagining itself, and then the mirror, you know, there was this huge, you know, monstrous dog. You know, that's how it saw itself. But the reality is this is what it was. How often do we do that? We project ourselves out into the world as something that is not truly who we are. Sometimes that's okay. Sometimes that's a good thing, because we are wired neurologically to deal with the physical world. And in order to move through this world and to move through all the things that are going on, we have to have an imagination that can get us past some of the stuff that would normally create fear and doubt and anxiety. So we're wired in a way to imagine something different, that life is good, life is perfect, life is all well. But we know that that's not always true. But if we weren't wired that way, we'd all be in deep depression all the time. And that wouldn't look pretty. Right? Right. Yeah. So we get wired into a different way. Sometimes we get our wires crossed and we go there. So the mirror gets flipped. And even though we may be this divine child living the life eternal, what we see in the mirror is lack and limitation and fear and doubt and mistrust.